What's up, guys, and welcome to a special game script looking at the Minnesota Vikings versus the Pittsburgh Steelers playing in Dublin, Ireland for this episode. And I'm going to break that down and give you some DraftKings Showdown lineups to build right after this. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at PumaCom with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching GameScript. I'm going to be breaking down the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Minnesota Vikings. We got a 40.5 total in this one with Minnesota as 2.5-point favorites, and it should be a pretty good game. We got a lot of good weapons, especially on the Minnesota side in this one, and we're looking at a Carson Wentz versus Aaron Rodgers matchup here. And don't underestimate Wentz playing with Kevin O'Connell on the Minnesota Vikings. O'Connell has turned some pumpkins into carriages recently, including Sam Darnold having a monster year last year. And Wentz is a capable quarterback on a former MVP pace when he played with the Eagles back in, I believe 2018 was when that big year happened for him before he got injured and Nick Foles took over and ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. So he finds himself with a quarterback whisperer in O'Connell, and we'll see how he ends up doing there. He had a good week last week. Didn't get to do too much last week because it ended up being a blowout win for the Vikings, but we'll dig into how he might do against Pittsburgh this week. Before I do that, make sure to hit the like button. I'm looking for 50 likes to put out my favorite picks in the comments section a little bit before lock. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm looking for 2,000 subscribers. I'm very close to that. I need under 100, so help me get to that 2,000 subscriber mark. You want to subscribe anyways to get access to these games script episodes I put out for every island game. Got a couple for Monday night, a couple shows for Monday night coming out. Next, I'm going to have 2-game slate breakdown, and I'm going to have a showdown episode for Monday Night Football. But you got to subscribe to the channel and sign up for alerts to know when those come out. And also, you want to subscribe to get access to the secret weapon, which is coming out soon. Going to be putting out a website to give you a really good research tool that's going to supplement your other research. But this is going to be more of a news-based research tool that's going to make your searching for nuggets a much easier process. So make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you're going to get access to this new weapon, secret weapon first. I'm going to give it to my YouTube subscribers a free beta preview. So you're going to want to be subscribed to my YouTube channel in order to access that. Coming off of a pretty decent week 3. I had my biggest hit of the season so far. I'm going to get into that first before we get into the DraftKings breakdown. First big hit was off of Underdog, actually, and I had a 87 times return on a showdown, a Underdog pick'em video that I did on the main slate for last week. I ended up winning $875 myself off a $10 play that I did over on Underdog. You can join too using the promo code SEEK, SEEK, and that's going to get you $100 free from Underdog when you make your first $5 play. It's going to be $100. They're going to deposit $100 in free funds for you. So you're going to want to check that out so you can access those free funds. Use the promo code SEEK, SEEK, and that's going to be for new depositors. But last week, you can see I had Luther Burden was my main long shot in that in this particular pick'em that I did. Luther Burden, I had him going for a touchdown, and he ended up scoring that pretty long touchdown. Had his breakout game last week against Dallas. Also in that same game, I had Brandon Aubrey going higher than 1.5 field goals. I had TJ Hawkinson in that one. He's a guy that I'm going to be talking about a lot tonight for this morning game between Pittsburgh and Minnesota. I had him going over 5.5 targets, which he ended up hitting at the end of that game. Made me sweat it out a little bit, but he ended up getting it on a touchdown catch from Carson Wentz at the end of that game. I had Jake Browning going lower than 236.5 pass yards, and he ended up hitting that for me. And Russell Wilson was a gimme pick. So, Underdog's been giving away gimme picks for all customers these past couple weeks. So took advantage of that, and those 5 picks helped me get and it was telling me it was like a 77 times return if it hit. It ended up being 87 times. So big hit there, and the first decent hit of the season. So let's take a look over at DraftKings. This game is going to be a pretty good one. It's a 2.5 point spread in this one, so they're expecting it to be pretty close. We got a low total at 40.5 points. I think it could probably go over that total in this one. I think that Pittsburgh's defense has been vulnerable, but I do think that Aaron Rodgers, would be more equipped to handle a Brian Flores-led defense than maybe your average quarterback, even though Aaron Rodgers has not played that well under pressure. The Vikings are notorious for blitzing and getting quarterbacks under pressure. When Rodgers has been pressured, according to Rich Rebar, he has a 32 rating, which is 30th in the league, and he's only completed 6 out of 22 pass attempts. So, he's struggled under pressure so far this season, but Aaron Rodgers is no stranger to pressure, and he could handle himself in just about any situation if he's playing at his best. So don't underestimate Aaron Rodgers in this matchup. He's not my favorite matchup for him, but I would not underestimate him in any game. Basically, we saw it in week 1. Let's go over and check out Aaron Rodgers in week 1. Monster game against the Jets in week 1, his old team. That was a revenge game for Rodgers. He ended up with 25.7 DraftKings points through 4 touchdowns in that one. He threw 2 touchdowns last week against New England, and he threw 1 touchdown against Seattle. He has 2-1 record right now. So Pittsburgh is playing decently so far this season. Their defense has not been great, though, and Aaron Rodgers has been pretty hit or miss so far this season. But we'll see how he does against Minnesota. Justin Jefferson is in a good matchup in this one. Pittsburgh has allowed 25 DraftKings points a game to wideouts, and wideouts are getting targeted at a 78% clip versus 22% for slot receivers. The matchup for Justin Jefferson is really good too. He's he equal side on the left and right side of the field, so he'll get plenty of opportunity against the right defense of the Minnesota Vikings, which has been the vulnerable part of that secondary so far. The slot corner for the Steelers hasn't been that great either, so that's going to put Jalen Nailor in play for us as well. I'll get into that in a second. Jordan Mason had a nice game last week. Aaron Jones went out with an injury the prior week, And then Jordan Mason got his first start last week, ended up getting 26.6 DraftKings points for us against Cincinnati. And he faces a Pittsburgh defense this week that's only given up 19.4 DraftKings points, but they have been vulnerable against the run regardless. According to Rich Rebar, Pittsburgh's given up 4.2 yards per carry and a first down or touchdown on 26% of those runs. That's one of the bottom 5 in the league. So we'll see Jordan Mason get a shot here in Dublin to add to his legacy as a backup running back who gets thrust into the starting role for us. Last year, I had him in a captain role in his first week filling in for Christian McCaffrey. I think we got him at about, like a 5, like under 10% ownership, and he ended up having a monster game and making that a memorable showdown for people who watch GameScript. DK Metcalf is in a decent matchup as well. Minnesota has been giving up. They've only been giving up 10.7 DraftKings points a game, but Metcalf should be in a decent matchup in this one. He's had under 20% of the targets so far this season, but I would expect Minnesota to come out with a decent lead, even though it's a close spread in this one. But I still think that that Minnesota is going to come out with a decent lead in this one. I think that the Vikings are going to be playing a little bit of catch up, but Minnesota. Actually, you know what? Minnesota's held these starting wide receiver ones to pretty low totals so far. Odunze only had 37 yards against them. Drake London had under 50 yards, and Jamar Chase had about 50 yards against them. So, so a difficult matchup actually for DK Metcalf. Looking closer at it, but he is going to be Rodgers' primary target here, and they should be, at least in my game scripts, playing from behind in this one. He's expensive though, at 9,400, so it's going to be tough to actually work him in. I was thinking that Metcalf might be a guy that we would use, but looking closer at these numbers, he might be one for us to fade instead. Carson Wentz came in last week in that game, ended up with 15.3 DraftKings points. I was recommending him on my show last week as one of these capable veteran quarterbacks who came in at super cheap. It was only $4K, I think, in last week's game. And unfortunately, he got game scripted out because it ended up being a huge blowout against Cincinnati. But, he still ended up getting 15 DraftKings points in that one, so it wasn't a total wash. But Wentz ended up 173 yards through 2 touchdowns. He looked pretty good in the opportunity that he got when he was throwing, and I think he should, if the script of the what Vegas is anticipating, a 2.5 point spread, plays out, then Wentz should be throwing throughout the entire game in this one. I do think that they're going to play with a bigger lead than that. But we'll see what happens. But I do think that Wentz is definitely in play this week. Jaylen Warren is also in play. Maybe they're doing more dink and dunks against Minnesota under all that pressure this week. And Warren has increasingly gotten a higher and higher snap count or target share as the weeks have gone on. I'm going to take a look real quick. Take a look at Fantasy Pros and see what kind of snap share that he's gotten. So we saw Kenneth Gainwell steal a touchdown last week, And a lot of hype was around Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson's basically been a nothing burger so far this season. And you see Warren's snap counts went from 45 to 58 to 80. So Kenneth Gainwell, steadily declining in his snap share. I wouldn't be surprised with Arthur Smith as that offensive coordinator, though, to see Kenneth Gainwell come out of nowhere in this one and then suddenly get like a 50% snap count against Minnesota. But it's Jaylen Warren's role. He's the primary back here, and from a target perspective, he got 5 targets last week, 4 targets a week before that, and 2 targets in week 1. So steadily increasing across the board. Looking at Jordan Addison in his first game back with Minnesota, hasn't done anything yet this season. He's a very touchdown dependent type of receiver. So, Jordan Addison is definitely capable of being a captain option for us. And he's only at $7K, so we're probably going to get him as cheap as we're going to see him. Calvin Austin, the wide receiver 2 for Pittsburgh, he's at 6,200. Decent targets, 6, 4, and 5. 12 DraftKings points last season, 17 in last week, 17 in week 1. So he's definitely capable of making it into the optimal lineup, and he's definitely in our player pool. We'll skip down to the Vikings defense. Vikings D is in play in this one. 30 DraftKings points against Cincinnati last week. They just crushed Cincinnati last week. They must have had 2 touchdowns. Yeah, 2 touchdowns last week. They are definitely going to be in play. Aaron Rodgers under pressure could easily crumble just as easily as he could, find his way around this defense. TJ Hawkinson. Reason why I recommended TJ Hawkinson in my underdog pick'em last week was he had a good matchup, but he also Carson Wentz is notorious for targeting his tight ends. Zach Ertz was his favorite target when he played with the Eagles, and he's continued to target tight ends throughout his career. But TJ Hawkinson is the perfect target for a quarterback like Wentz, and you saw it last week. He had 6 targets, 5 receptions for 16 DraftKings points, including that touchdown in the fourth quarter that put us over the edge in the pick'em. We had a 5.5 reception, or no, 5.5 targets was the line. He ended up getting 6 targets for us. Boswell will be in play. He's one of the best kickers in the league. You can see he's had some decent performances already at 14 and 12 DraftKings points. Boswell will definitely be in play for us. The Steelers D, I'm higher on the Vikings D, but Steelers D could definitely have a game against Carson Wentz. 16 DraftKings points last week for them against New England. They could easily score double digits against Wentz. Reichard, the other kicker, the Minnesota's kicker, is definitely going to be in play. He's had a decent season so far, 14, 8, and 9 for him. And in a low-scoring game, we like kickers and we like defenses if it ends up playing out that way. Kenneth Gainwell got that touchdown coming from the Eagles. I'm not sure if he was around when Wentz was with the Eagles, but Kenneth Gainwell always been kind of a distant running back too. So he plays a very similar role to Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren got his opportunities early on in his career from being a good pass catcher, and that's kind of been Kenneth Gainwell's MO. He had 4 targets in week 1, 5 targets in week 2, only 1 target last week. But like I said, Warren had an 82% snap count in that one. So Kenneth Gainwell really wasn't on the field all that much. They only won by 1 touchdown in that game, so I'm not really sure how the game played out. But Gainwell only had limited opportunities, but he still scored 9.5 DraftKings points. Adam Thielen's back on the Vikings. Not a ton of targets last week, 2 targets last week and 3 targets the week before that. Has not really done too much yet, but with the slot receivers having that good matchup against that nickel corner of the Steelers, then like don't be surprised if Thielen gets to play a role in that at 4K. Jalen Naylor, the other slot receiver, he's the one who's been getting the most action, 5 targets in 2 games in a row. Let's take a look over at that Fantasy Pro site again, and let's look over at how those snap counts have. What the hell is that? Get rid of that. I don't know why that popped up. Sorry, had a ad take up my whole screen there. Let's go to wide receivers here, sorted by alphabetical. Go down to Minnesota. 80% for Jefferson, 83% for Naylor, 75% for Adam Thielen. So let's see. Naylor running 40% of his routes in the slot. Not quite sure where Thielen's breakdown is, but Naylor was getting 40% of his routes in the slot, so he's primarily running out of the slot. Jonnu Smith is going to be in play for us. Minnesota's been giving up only 11.3 DraftKings points to the tight end position, but it's still probably the best matchup for the pass catchers versus Minnesota. Minnesota's been very good against all other the positions, only allowing 12.5 DraftKings points to the quarterback, 18.1 to the running back. Those are both bottom 10. Only 10.7 to wideouts. That's another bottom 10. Maybe even the tops in the league. Yep, they are the best defense in the league against wideouts so far, so making that DK Metcalf matchup even worse. They've only allowed 8.9 DraftKings points to the slot, and then 11.3 to tight end. So tight end has the best of the matchups against Minnesota, and that's going to lead us to Pat Freiermuth too. Let's take a look at the snap counts of these tight ends versus that Pittsburgh's running out. Go real quick to tight end. So Jonnu's had 83% of the snaps versus Freiermuth, who's had 70. So they're probably running a lot of 2 tight end sets. But both those guys having decent snap counts, so both are going to be in play. Freiermuth, 3, 4, and 3 for his targets versus Jonnu, who is at 3, 4, and 6. Jonnu, handpicked by Arthur Smith, played with him in Tennessee, I believe. Played with him again when was the last time he played? In Atlanta, when Jonnu Smith had his breakout season with Atlanta, when everybody thought Kyle Pitts was going to be getting a ton of usage. Jonnu Smith came out of nowhere, handpicked by Arthur Smith in that offense as well. Had a big year there. And then Jonnu went on to have a big year in Miami last year. And now he is with the Steelers, and he's getting some decent usage there again with Arthur Smith. 12.5 DraftKings points in week 1, 6.7 week 2, and 5.3 last week. But Jonnu Smith is capable of having a big game, especially in an Arthur Smith offense. And he's only 3K. Oliver had a touchdown last week. Only 1 target, but it was for that touchdown. He ended up with 8.2 DraftKings points. I'm not too high on Oliver, but like I said, Wentz likes to target those tight ends. Cam Akers is the backup running back for Jordan Mason. I don't think he got a ton of work last week, but when he was last with Minnesota, was I think last season or the season before that, he ended up having a pretty decent, getting a pretty decent amount of usage with Minnesota, but he's at 1.2K and he had 5 attempts last week. He could easily, get a cheap touchdown. So I would keep Cam Akers in my player pool. Skowronek, another cheap guy that we might want to keep an eye on. He's only had one target so far with Rodgers. Actually, he might not be even active, so just keep an eye on his status. Washington is another tight end for Pittsburgh, but it looks like he has not gotten a lot of usage. He might not be active either, so keep an eye on that. Caleb Johnson is the rookie. He's only at $400, so $400 for Caleb Johnson. I think he was getting about 20% of the snaps or something like that. So he's still going to be in play, especially at 400. He could get a cheap touchdown for us. And going down like Roman Wilson, he got 2 targets in week 2, nothing in week 3. But Roman Wilson was supposed to be a pretty good wide receiver prospect. He's probably rubbed Aaron Rodgers the wrong way. But these Steelers are pretty good at picking out these wide receivers, and Roman Wilson was one of the guys that they drafted recently. So at $200, let's get a look at his snap share. Looking down at Pittsburgh, we had the primary receivers are Calvin Austin at 72%, DK Metcalf 89% snap count last week. Roman Wilson had a 17% snap count. So Roman Wilson, for his role, basically the wide receiver 3, he had 35% snap count in week 2 and 18 in week 1. So he's pretty much the wide receiver 3, and he's only at $200. So for that role, that's pretty decent value for us. So Roman Wilson, and we're finding some gems in the dumpster this week. Other than that, I don't see a whole lot that I'm interested in. So let's go ahead and build this lineup. We'll build a chalkier build first. I would bet Mason will be popular in this one at his price point. Jefferson will be too. Let's go with Jefferson. We'll put Mason in there too. And let's put Wentz in there for now. I don't think our salary is going to let us do too much with that one. Let's get Jonnu Smith in there. He's a cheap Steeler, and we like the tight end matchup versus the Steelers or versus Minnesota. And let's get Hawkinson in there too. So that leaves us with 6K. I mean, this lineup pretty much built itself for Justin Jefferson, captain. We got Vikings as an option, go 5-1 against Pittsburgh. We got Boswell we could put in there. Steelers D, Reichard as well. Like plenty of options there. We also got these slot receivers who I mentioned, and Thielen and Naylor, who have that decent matchup against Pittsburgh. So plenty of direction that we could go with this particular lineup. If you wanted to swap out Jonnu for Freiermuth, you could do a rotation there. So that lineup built itself. If we wanted Mason in that captain, maybe we want the build to go a little bit more towards that Minnesota kind of like almost a blowout build. Let's get Vikings D in there. For this one, I'm going to put Warren over Wentz because we got Mason doing the most of the damage against Pittsburgh, and then we got Warren, Dinkin Duncan as the Pittsburgh tries to get their way back into this game. For this one, we could put Jonnu in this one as well, since we got 2 receivers in there. Take a look and see what else we have. We could put Austin in this one as well. That's more of a Pittsburgh playing catch up type of lineup. Let's take the Vikings out of that one. Since I got like a bunch of pass catches, I'm going to try and get Aaron Rodgers in this one. That leaves us with 2,400. Xavier Scott. I guess he got 8 attempts last week. So he got more than Cam Akers last week. So keep him in mind. This build, you could go with Akers if you wanted to. You could go with Johnson. If we went with let's go with that Roman Wilson play, and let's see where we could maybe we swap out of Jonnu and go with Boswell. We could do that. That's not a bad build. If we did that and we got rid of Rodgers, let's go back with Wentz in this build. Leaves us with 6K. You go Vikings D in that one, or you could go with one of these kickers or Hawkinson. I don't want to leave Hawkinson out. So let's get Hawkinson in there. Leaves us with 600 if we do that. Gives Wentz another pass catching option there. So, plenty of ways that we can go. These lineups are going to be easy to build for this one. Let's go with a Hawkinson captain in this one. This will be our fun build here. Hawkinson's cheap. We can play more of a shootout in this one. We can get Jefferson in there. We can get Mason in there. We can get Rodgers and Wentz in here. Leaves us with 1,900. We could get Akers in this one if we wanted to. If we didn't want to go with Rodgers, let's go with Warren instead. That leaves us with 3,300, and that lands us right on Jonnu or Pat Freiermuth. That might be my favorite build to do in this one. If we think that Pittsburgh's going to be more competitive, we could go with Metcalf in that captain. We could build with an Addison. I haven't used Addison yet. But let's go with, Calvin Austin's not a bad captain option in this one, especially if they're playing from behind. Let's go with Jaylen Warren. He's probably the best option for Pittsburgh if we want to go with a Pittsburgh build. Let's put Aaron Rodgers in there, and let's get Metcalf in there too. Let's get Jefferson and Hawkinson in there. Leaves us with 2K if we go in this direction. If I got Rodgers in there, I pretty much want to have one of those tight ends. So let's take Hawkinson out of this one. Let's put Jonnu in. Leaves us with 4,400. We could go Gainwell if we wanted to. We could go Thielen. Thielen or Naylor are good options in this one. So plenty of different directions that we can go. I told you guys all the sneaky plays that I like in this one. The slot receivers for the Vikings are in a pretty good spot. The tight end Hawkinson for the Vikings is in a really good spot. I like him a lot. I also like the running back in Mason. I like the Wentz to Hawkinson connection. Justin Jefferson is in a good matchup too. So we got plenty of good plays in this one. So make sure to take advantage of this. You're going to be able to build a lot of different lineups that you would have fun building in this one. Make sure to hit the like button. Give me to 50 likes so we can put out my favorite plays in the comment section as we get closer to lock. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Help me get to 2,000. I only need about less than 100 left to get there, so help me out with that. Hit that hype button. I keep forgetting to say hit the hype button in the beginning. The hype button on YouTube helps me get this show out to people, and getting this show out to people is what my primary objective is. So when I spend the time and resources getting these shows put together, it helps me out when you guys hit that hype button and that like button to make it worthwhile. So appreciate that. And I'll see you guys next week or next in the week. I'll see you guys for Monday Night Football. All right. Good luck.